Many of us just know each other through a small window, and we are seeing each other for the first time in person. Sonia Bermejo, a psychologist, coordinator of the CEACOG facilitator course, with professional experience with inmates with disabilities during both the court proceeding and also in the execution of the sentence. And then Rebecca Arce also providing support to inmates, and she is also the coordinator of the CEACOG project in Castilla-La Mancha. So whenever you like, you have the floor, and you can tell us about the course for forensic psychologists. Can you give us a clicker, please? Okay, there it is. Shall I do it for you? Okay. So good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here, and taking advantage of that opportunity, I would also like to thank all the people that believed in me and trusted me to be here. Enrique Avilés, Laura Méndez, Cinta, Laura Espejo. The truth is that it has been a huge challenge for me, and I'm going to read a little bit because I don't want to miss anything. Although it was tough and intense, it has been very tough, but I think it was worthwhile. Since with the work that we have put in place with this huge effort, as my colleague said, we have been able to gain a clear vision, a clear positioning, and we have learned at least what we have to start doing from now on. With that, I don't mean that with the results we have already established a methodology, but I think that in the face of the challenge that we were facing, we had nothing when we started. Now we have something to work with. On the other hand, I would like to also thank my colleagues for the work, the coordinators of the different federations. I have kept them busy on Monday and throughout the week. And the truth is that we have all learned a lot from each other. And having said that, I would like to introduce the course for forensic psychologists. Within the 4 main lines of work of the CEACOG, one of the actions was to train forensic psychologists. It is also very important, as well as the training of facilitators. The title, Training Course for Forensic Psychologists, the keys for the assessment of support needs in people with intellectual disabilities. Within those 4 strategic lines of actions, the CEACOG realized that it was necessary to train forensic psychologists to participate in the proceedings. I have to say that we, at least for me, we thought that this training was presented to me as a challenge, because training people with such a long trajectory and a background was for me almost impossible. But we were lucky enough to be able to count on the Forensic Psychologist Association that helped us with the development of the content, and I was very surprised at the demand. The demands coming from the people, what they wanted from the course, and they said that we don't want you to teach us what we already know. We don't want to be taught theory, because that's something we already know and we practice on a daily basis. We want to know what you are doing when you are facing an interview with a person with disabilities, how you work with them, what methodologies you use. And then I relaxed a little bit when I heard that. And that was our opportunity to show them our work, to show them what we were doing, how and when we work with people with disabilities. This huge task, and such an intense task, and also very caring and very detailed work that we develop in each of the institutions that work with people with disabilities, and above all, to put them in the right position and to put a face on all the people that on a daily basis work and take care and care for the people with disabilities. Both people that work in direct contact, the therapeutic teams, the executive teams, the managerial teams. It's been our letter of introduction and the opportunity to show the work that we have been developing the last few years, our programs, our services, and then the right treatment and the fair treatment to any person in a proceeding. That's a principle that should guide the action of our courts and of all court or judicial operators. When someone is immersed in a proceeding, either civil, social, administrative, criminal, if they have a disability, either sensory disability or mental disability, those are people that need to be taken care of in a different way, in a special way. Sometimes you may oversee excessively technical language, the rigorous development of the hearings, and all those things position the person with disabilities in a vulnerable situation vis-a-vis the system. It is my role to acknowledge that after 20 years of experience going through all sorts of courts, going back and forth, and when I arrived at those courts and I was asking to be heard, I recognized that a long time has passed and that we have made some progress. Now the law is backing us up and we have regulatory support, but the truth is that we still have a long way to go because there's still differences between what the laws establish and what happens in court, because we continue to go around with those reports that nobody wants to read. Judges and lawyers and court clerks are neglecting that special sensitivity that is expected from them, and they just stick to the technical jargon as executors of the law. And it is our obligation to adapt and to make them adapt that application of the law from the perspective of human rights, something that they sometimes miss and that is established in many international treaties, with the consequence of not caring enough for disabilities in judicial proceedings, because that might place especially vulnerable people in a even more difficult situation, and that might mean that the judicial operators and ourselves might be violating human rights. That's why this course is so important. In this course, we didn't just want to deliver technical or theoretical or practical training. We also wanted to raise awareness among part of the judicial workers that have some prejudice vis-a-vis people with disabilities. I was told by one of the students, what do I have to do when they come and want to hit me? And I was telling them, we still have some prejudice. They shouldn't come to beat you. And so we vindicate lots of things that we have been proposing throughout the course. And if those things are taken into account, they will provide more equality and equity to the judicial system. We wanted to identify those situations where it is necessary that the system proposes an automated response to people with intellectual disabilities, starting or initiating mechanisms that guarantee their rights in any stage of the proceeding. We need to identify the concurrence of those circumstances. They need to be, they need the assessment of their specific needs to have equal access to justice. It is a common and shared responsibility by all judicial operators, either the law enforcement officers, courts, court clerks, forensics, judges, police forces. All of them need to play a role, and they all need to adapt to these circumstances so that we can attain a greater degree of equality in our system. But there's no doubt that on our part, at least on our part, we have to go through an authoritative exercise where we present our intervention, our role, and our values as a very important element when it comes to preventing that shortfall of respect for their rights because of the lack of recognition for the disabilities or a strict rigor in the application of the methodology and of the procedures. We need to continue raising awareness among professionals that in this case, in the field of forensic psychology, we need to raise awareness about the necessary support in order to not to violate the rights of the disabled people so that the system can work in an orderly and fair way. Access to justice, another one of the strengths that we wanted to back up and in the course was the role of the facilitators. Those professionals were perceived as a menace, as a threat, as intruders in our role, but they also play a very important role throughout the process, and they have their own sphere of work. And we have established the roadmap, and we have clarified the role of each of them. And now the facilitators will be perceived as a strategic ally for the betterment of our delivery of justice. So we need to identify the limitations and also the skills and the abilities to clarify where it is necessary to establish support that are significant, permanent, or specific, or intense, or one-off, and to call the different judicial operators, either civil, criminal, administrative, or whatever. We need to make a call to all those competent authorities, and also to our commitment as an organization that are part of the association movement in favor of the people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, so that we can offer advice and support to all those people that, being part of this specific group of population, are immersed in a legal process.
And so, students in this course have available to them good practices, not just to be trained and get to know the resources and materials, but also to have enough knowledge to be able to raise awareness amongst other legal operators, people who are within the courts, including judges and prosecutors, lawyers, and to expand this view of dignity and have customized support that otherwise will generate personal consequences, even higher consequences for these people who are already find themselves in a situation of discrimination and disadvantage. And last, we wanted to show that in a system such as ours, still lots of people go to court without being detected. They enter prison or with measures that are alternative to prison, which determines, for example, the sentence they might get in court. And in many cases, and it actually conditions the life of these people. Sometimes it even creates consequences that are even greater. Sonia, you have to finish. Well, having said this, I would like to end by saying that the forensic psychologist has a vital role in the assessment of the support needs. And what we wanted to transmit is not that they have to show special sensitiveness, but actually that each professional should have enough information, training, and awareness to be able to carry out the profession in a responsible way. And I'd like to give the floor back to Rebecca. Thank you. Rebecca, you've got the floor. Well, I'd like to take the opportunity to be here to talk, first of all, before talking about the course, to talk on behalf of my colleagues, the coordinators of the CEACOG in different regions, because the truth is that, and I believe I can share this opinion with all of them. It's been a pleasure to be part of the facilitator course to try to implement this role. We'll see where we can get it to be, but I'd like to thank the CEACOG for inviting us, and I want to thank Plan de Recuperación for allowing us to be here today as well and be part of the project. And I would like now to talk about the course. I would like to introduce you to the skilling training for forensic psychologists. As she said, it's called Keys for the Assessment of Support Needs of People with Intellectual Disabilities. It's a pilot course, as Ines mentioned. Everything's a pilot now, because, I mean, this is the first thing these things are done. So it's a self-training online course. What does it being a pilot mean? Well, I hope I'm part of the students here as well. So we have a participation forum, and the idea is to encourage a debate so we can all improve this course in the future. So it's a pilot, and the objective is to be able to improve everything we learn. And in principle, it's a 20-hour course. It started December 4th, and it's going to be, and I end December 31st. And I mean, it's been welcome, just like the facilitator course. I'm sorry, but I must compare, because this is a topic that is very interesting. And we had 50 seats, and applicants were accepted as they presented the application. The second day, we had to close it already because it was full. The profile of the people, the students, well, 80% of them are professional psychologists from the Legal Institute of Forensic Psychology. And many of them, well, through the APF. Well, we've seen there's a very high demand for it, and the other 20% are psychologists that work in the legal system in collaboration with legal systems, also legal and forensic psychology teachers, psychologists that work in prisons, and psychologists that are experts in disabilities and have experience in the legal system, as Brendan mentioned before. So facilitators, I mean, we've been working around this for many years, but without having, I'm sorry, this is a hot topic now. There was no regulation before, but now we have something with this course. Well, the content of this course includes, I was talking about the facilitator course, not the certification for psychiatry, for forensic psychologists, right? We have 6 units. The first tries to explain the basic elements of what intellectual disability, what it is, and what developmental disabilities are. We talk about the social model and the rights model, and leave behind the medical approach, in which interventions were based many years ago. It was, well, we are beyond that, but in some areas, well, it's not behind us yet. So we have to provide basic knowledge around this model. The second unit, as Ines mentioned, dealt with efficient communication and which are the tools, how to detect when communication is effective and when it is not, which are the tools to be able to break those barriers. And to do so, we were talking about easy reading or alternative communication systems. Unit 3 would be the role of the facilitator, how it was born, its functions, the collaborator between the facilitator and the forensic multidisciplinary groups and or teams. But we wanted to specify which are the the roles of each of them, because a forensic psychologist hasn't got the same function as a facilitator, and it's not the same thing to assess communication skills and to identify strengths and weaknesses. Module 4, strategies and techniques to be able to assess support needs of people with intellectual disabilities. The 5th module will be how to create a report. And last, ethics. And that's the end. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. Yes, that was perfect. Well, thank you very much.